Good afternoon. Thank you very much for inviting me, for inviting Commission, let's say, to present some kind of policy perspective for skills and qualifications, especially regarding vocational education and training, as it is focus of this workshop. Firstly, I will start with a bit, I'll say, from a broader view, broader perspective, with the construction sector as such. Construction sector is one of the biggest one, so it desires, let's say, attention of the Commission, because if there is any change, it usually has significant, let's say, consequences. Also, it's present in our everyday life, so everything what we see around is somehow, let's say, a result of construction activities, and also, let's say, it's at heart of a lot of Commission or EU policies when we speak about infrastructure, when we speak about housing, when we speak about some social issues, we speak, let's say, about energy efficiency or resource efficiency, circular economy. It's everything, let's say, connected with the construction sector. Therefore, in 2012, Commission adopted a communication. The name is, you see, it's for sustainable competitiveness of the construction sector and its enterprises. And as was adopted like 7 years ago, and it's rather a static document, we decided that time to make it more dynamic. Therefore, we created so-called high-level forum, which is gathering of stakeholders and the Commission, and let's say also, let's say, national administrations. And we are discussing once per year, let's say, the new challenges and how to address them. Also, like, these are the topics that are rather broad. Therefore, we created also 5 expert groups. Topics are mentioned below. So investments, skills, resource efficiency, internal market, and globalization. Skills is one of them. And there are experts who are meeting especially on those 5 topics, on particularly usually on one topic per time, usually 2-3 times per year as it needed. As we have heard from Eugenio, there is a lot of challenges in the sector. So I will try to summarize how we see those challenges in the Commission. Let's say, to summarize challenges mentioned, we see like 3 particular strengths in the those challenges. First is energy efficiency. Let's say you are expert on energy efficiency, so I don't want to proceed further. Second is digitalization. Let's say the construction sector is on the second place in digitalization. The bad news is that it's from bottom. So let's say there is a huge potential to be improved. Let's say to gain some productivity in the sector. And the third challenge is sustainability and resource efficiency, because construction sector is consuming a lot of energies, a lot of water, a lot of national resources, and it's producing a lot of construction and demolition waste. Now, let's say, to address those issues, we need to have some workers. And let's say, but the construction sector is not only sector at the market. So construction sector is competing with other sectors as well. So it's not just construction sector who would like to get the best workers, but it's also other sectors who would like to attract youngsters to come to vocational education and training, or let's say to keep also older experienced workers in the sector. So it's a rather challenge, as was mentioned by Eugenio. And of course, as we have heard, construction sector has a negative image, which, let's say, doesn't contribute to, like, say, some seeing the sector as prospective career for the, let's say, entrance to the sector. How to address those issues? So firstly, for new entrants, for, let's say, youngsters, we need to prepare attractive curricula for their vocational education and training to attract them. For older workers, we need to prepare some attractive training methods, let's say, to increase their, let's say, skills. And because construction sector, let's say, technologies are rather similar. I don't want to say the same, but they're rather similar from country to country, so we can learn, let's say, from country to country, so we could gather at national stage good experience, good practice, and transfer it to European-wide, let's say, space. Also, important point is recognition of qualification, because let's say mobility is embedded in the construction sector, so it should be nice when the various skills and qualification are recognized in EU-wide territory. And it's rather important that various trades would understand the work of other people, let's say, and collaborate with them, because it's not possible just have strict focus on his or her own work, but it's necessary to see it in broader perspective. Here you see some characteristic about construction sector, that there are labor shortages, especially after crisis, mentioned by Eugenio. There are skill mismatches, and let's say are increasing. That we will need more higher skilled workers, and there are new technologies, green construction and digitalization, which will set the future skill demands. Those sentences are from our analytical report, which we produced in June on improving the human capital basis. In 2015, we launched a project which is called European Construction Sector Observatory, let's say to gather knowledge about the sector, to understand it better, and therefore to let's say to address better challenges for it. Now we have the website, which is mentioned on the screen, and there you can find analytical sheets about every country. Also, let's say some policy initiatives for every country, like 2 to 5. And there are some analytical reports, which are some specialized focus on some topics. One is the report on skills. It has about 60 pages. It's published there since June, so I would encourage you to read it. On 6th of July this year, we have a big conference. We try to attract, let's say, much more stakeholders than usually we are having at the high-level forum meetings. So we have more than 200 people attending the conference. It focuses on 4 topics. The first one was how construction is reshaping our cities, then sustainability, skills and qualifications, and digitalization and innovation. I don't want to go into details, but there is a link to website. You will find there all presentations, conclusions from conference, and also some kind of report from conference, so you can read it and find. But especially, it was mentioned that, let's say, construction sector is changing, so we will need workforce to deliver the transformational change of sector, and also, let's say, all stakeholders and let's say policymakers will need to work together, let's say, to reach this change. Here I would like to mention several policy documents adopted by European Commission. First one is Clean Energy for all Europeans. It was, let's say, part of the Winter Energy Union package adopted last, I think, November. Or beginning of December, I don't remember exactly. Probably you are well aware about it. And most important for us is Annex 1, which was titled Accelerating Clean Energy in Buildings, which mentioned a lot about skills, especially skills for energy efficiency and digitalization in the construction sector. Then we have a communication on new skills agenda for Europe. This is a general communication about skills, and it's rather important for construction sector because it launched the initiative Blueprint for Sectoral Cooperation on Skills. This I will mention in detail at a later stage. Then we have communication on circular economy. As I said, that construction sector is consumer of resources and a producer of waste. So let's say this. There is also some action plan in which are mentioned some tasks for the construction sector. In this area, it's especially that we have delivered some kind of pre-demolition audit for, let's say, some guidelines, also demolition protocol, and we are preparing some indicators to, let's say, to characterize the lifespan of the building from the circular economy point of view. Then we have communication on resource efficiency opportunities in the building sector. This, let's say, as Eugenio mentioned, there's about consumption of energy, resources, but also about production of waste, and let's say what is possible to do with it, and let's say what kind of skills will be needed for it. Then we have Green Employment Initiative. It's a broader, let's say, communication, not just for construction sector, but construction sector is mentioned rather often there. And then we have Green Action Plan for SMEs. There are like 3 actions which are very relevant for construction sector regarding skills and qualifications. Then I would like to mention the build-up skills, but because Amandine will present it in detail, I will skip this one. Next, I would like to mention European Alliance for Apprenticeships. It is an initiative launched by the Commission 4 years ago, and it encouraged the, let's say, entrepreneurs to present their activities regarding apprenticeships. Let's say, to present some pledges or commitments, how they would like to promote apprenticeships, or how they would like to improve or get more apprentices. So this is some kind of to produce positive image about apprenticeships. And we encourage the construction sector companies or stakeholders to present their activities, because apprenticeships is very much connected with construction sector. So far we got 56 pledges or commitments. At the peak period, we were like 1/3 of all pledges of the EAFA, so European Alliance for Apprenticeships. Now is like 1/4 of all pledges. So 1/4 of all pledges are from construction sector. And we were only one sector which, let's say, encouraged the stakeholders to present their activities. At the moment, we are monitoring those activities, so let's say whether the commitments have been fulfilled or what is the stage of their implementation. And we use this activity also to map how vocational education training is running in the construction sector, whether there are some specificities, whether there are some good practice examples, what are challenges. We prepared 22 case studies on various issues in the sector, and we are just preparing a final report of the study, which will be published like in 2 months, I assume, on this website. And the last but not least is initiative Blueprint for Sectorial Cooperation on Skills. So this is a big initiative, was piloted this year already in 6 sectors. Now will be, let's say, continued in another 6 sectors. Construction sector is among them, also renewables. And the call should be published at any moment now. And it's a project supported from Erasmus+. It will be 4-year-long project supported by 4 million euros from the Commission. There will be 80% co-financing from Commission. And the aim is, I would like to tell it is like small build-up skills at EU-wide level, focusing on several topics. So the stakeholders should define the strategy for vocational education training, so for skills, in some selected areas for the sector, and also, let's say, should develop some addressing of challenges and needs and prepare some spillover to national and regional level. So as I said, the call should be published at any moment. It requires certain partnership between businesses and vocational education providers. Also, the other stakeholders like chambers of commerce, trade unions should be also involved. And it should be some kind of gathering, representing well of the sector and trying to, let's say, cover as much of the union as is possible to, let's say, to have some EU-wide addressing of this issue. As I said in the beginning, those 3 areas which we saw or see as a priority areas, our challenges in the beginning, we also presented for the blueprint, which should be addressed in the blueprint. So energy efficiency, digitalization, and circular economy, including bio-based and secondary recycled products. As, let's say, the most of the build-up skills projects are being closed now, it's a nice opportunity for those who participate there to continue in some manner their activities. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.